If you guys can see my screen, the first image or pane that we're looking at here is a new screen for us. And the idea behind this was that we wanted to consolidate a space where you could first come when you first log in and immediately get value. We've called it the alert log, and basically what it does is two things. It gives you kind of some immediate highlighted graphs here that tell you what's been flagged, and the flagging system's down below. And we'll look at that in a second. Who's setting up the most alerts, or who's kind of triggering the most alerts, who's using the most risky apps, and who's triggering the most alert words. Down below is the alert log, which is basically all of the most recent alerts and notifications. What those can consist of are people typing a specific word, people going to a specific type of website, and then also behaviors. You can create behavior notifications such as somebody sent more than 3 webmails, or somebody sent at least 1 webmail with an attachment, or somebody moved a file to a USB drive, or somebody went to more than 10 blocked websites. So it gives you the ability to kind of set parameters around behaviors that matter to you. And then as they happen, they will automatically populate here. You can then come in, look at the event, see that it's red flagged. I can see this email, and I can decide whether or not it's okay or not. And then I can kind of change this to I'm clearing it as a green flag, or yellow, meaning it's still under review. And in that case, you could put it as yellow and then delegate it to somebody else to look at if you had to. But the idea with this log is that you can click on any of these, and it will give you the details of this alert. These types of software, monitoring software in general, it's capturing so much information that sometimes it's tricky to know exactly where to go to see that information, and where do you get to things that matter to you. And so what we've done is kind of taken this as a way to pull the needles out of the haystack and put them in front of you and say, hey, here are the things that you said you care about. Here's how, the most recent times it's happened, and then you can, of course, dig into the details further from here if you had to. But again, all of these, you can click on the entry, and it will give you the details. So if it's a Gmail, you can see who it was, who from, who to, what time and date was it sent, and as well as the entire content of the email. So yeah, so that's the idea behind this alert log. You can export the entire thing to PDF or to CSV or Excel spreadsheet. And that's basically the idea here. Moving over, just to show you some new ways of getting data. A chart view is basically just a bunch of graphs that tell you any number of different things. So whether or not somebody's spending time web surfing more than others, whether somebody's going to more blocked websites, whether somebody's using, what type of applications are being used the most, what types of websites are being visited, what alert words are being triggered. An alert word is basically a list of words that you build, that you say you care about. That being said, if you guys have interest, we have a few pre-built lists that are pretty commonly used, such as job search ones, so exactly what you see here: Monster, Indeed, Job, Career Builder, Resume, Contract, Recruiter, stuff like that. So if they type that, or if it's viewed anywhere on the screen, it will pull it out and alert you to it. There are many different graphs you can choose from. Just click on Add, and you can see how many you can choose from. So yeah, so that's the idea here. Now these graphs are cool too, because you can get these sent to you embedded in an email on a scheduled basis, say daily, weekly, and they don't even come as an attachment. They actually come in the email itself graphically, which is nice. So if you wanted to get this at the end of the day, an email with some graphs that show which alert words were triggered or who's going to the most blocked websites, you could do that. So yes, that's the idea with this chart view. User view, this is something that we've kind of rebuilt to have a little bit more of a user-centric story, as opposed to just, here's all this data, you have to figure out what it means to you. This is kind of telling the story of each employee. User view is going to be a view of one day, so it's going to be the current day usually, but you can always click on it and look at historical days too. And then you have the person, how many alerts have they triggered that day, what computer are they using, when did they first log in, when did they last log off, how much active time, which isn't just duration, it's how much time were they interacting with the computer, when were they interacting with the computer, an activity heat map, how much unproductive time has happened, the last thing they did, and then a screenshot view. You could sort these by, say, total active time top down. You could sort it by unproductive time top down, so who's most unproductive, or that would be the biggest concern, I would say. Michael. So again, all of these are sortable, as you can see. Number of alerts triggered, top down. And so let me show you first what the screenshot view is. The value with that is that it allows you to see, you know, if you're running continuous screenshots, you can see everything that was on their screen for a full session. You can then export that to a video if you wanted to, but basically it's showing, you know, what was on their computer and what was the activity happening during that time. Just want to pull one up that has some live activity happening. There you go. So this is kind of, here's what was happening and here's what was on the screen during that time. And again, you can change the playback. You can download this all to a video, save it, watch it, bring it to a meeting, whatever you have to do. As far as the productivity piece, how do you determine what is productive versus unproductive? Best way to do that, and the best way to see what somebody specifically did, maybe during this day or during a couple other days, click on the person's name. It'll bring up two things. A couple graphs that are kind of telling you the top-down story. What alerts did they trigger? What websites are they going to the most? What applications are being used the most? And this is for a date range, so I could choose, you know, 1 day, 2 days, 2 weeks, whatever you wanted to do. And then down below that, you have an activity log. All of that person's activity in chronological order. So if I wanted to get an idea of what Michael did, I can just walk through each one of these, see exactly what he did step by step. If I wanted to see, you know, what did this email contain, I could click on it. Same as with the alert log, pulls up the details of the email. If it's a, let's see if it's any different, file tracking event, it'll tell you what happened. Looks like it was a webmail sent with an attachment. Here's the file name. You could add this to the alert log, although this one's red, so it looks like it's already there. Yeah, you get the idea. I mean, basically, it's pretty straightforward of here's all their activity. Now, what I was referencing before in terms of productivity versus unproductivity. So obviously, that's something that you have to build out logic for yourself, because it's going to be different for every job type, every industry, every person's role. It's always going to be a little bit different. So the best place to go to find a lot of their activity is to come here. Now, whatever group Michael falls into, so if you have everybody in the same group, like say the default unassigned group, then as I change productivity settings for Michael, they will apply to everybody in that group. If Michael's in his own group called maybe management group, and there's only 3 people in there, well, when I change the settings for him, it'll only apply to the management team. So, you know, because there could be situations where, you know, it's productive for somebody to be on Facebook if they're maybe in a marketing field. versus unproductive for a salesperson if they don't need to be there, that kind of thing. So the things that you can give a productive versus unproductive assignment to our websites and programs. So as you can see, each one of the websites and programs has a red or green square. If you click on a green, it's considered productive. If you leave it gray or click gray, it's undecided or neutral, and red is, of course, unproductive. As you set it for Google, it will apply for all Googles. So it's pretty smart. It doesn't really take that long to set up. Once you spend maybe a couple days doing this for any a few employees, then you'll find it's starting to tell a story. And again, this all comes back to being able to quickly see who's the most unproductive in the office. If I wanted to quickly come here and say, hey, Michael's got, looks like 56 unproductive events out of 71 total. That's concerning. I want to see what those are. I could just click on the circle. And instead of pulling up his whole activity log, it pulls up just the unproductive events. Okay, great. I see he's spending a lot of time on the web. He did a web search, how to sue your employer. That's concerning. He's using a couple risky applications that we have some predetermined risky applications for you, but you can always add to those if you wanted to. How to start a paper mill business. So you get the idea. Basically, this is how you view those things. And again, you can export this, email it, bring it to a meeting, print it, copy it, whatever you need to do. If you feel good about the unproductive and you want to see all, you can just come back up to the filters, change it to all, or just view productive. So you have the ability to set filters here, and then maybe change the date range, maybe change who you're looking at, or just go back to the user view, which is everybody. So that's the idea. The idea here is to give you some autonomy of saying, this is our industry, here's where I know people waste time. I want to let the software do its work where it's telling me who's going to these places more than anybody else, and how much time are they spending there. And what'll happen is as soon as you do that, it'll start to kind of tell a story that is pretty accurate for how people spend their time. We've done a lot of testing in this space, and so it really does accurately portray where people are spending their time. And I think that's when the software is working for you, is when it's running in the background quietly, you're doing your own job, and then you can kind of log in quickly, see what initially what alerts were triggered the most recently, and is there anything really concerning that happened that you need to know about. So again, first place to come look here. And then after that, maybe dig into each person a little bit, see the overview of each of them, and say, hey, why is this one person so unproductive? And maybe get an idea, a more clear picture there. If you need even more detail, you can go to the data view, which is more like our old interface, or the way we used to present data, which is just kind of, here are all the data types, and here's every single entry that took place. And of course, you can sort all these, by a person or by a group of people or by, active time top down, or whatever you wanted to. But you don't always know what you're looking for. So that's why we've kind of revamped how we display that information. That being said, data view is a great place to come if you want to see, like, okay, I have my office, I want to know what websites everyone goes to, sort it by website. You're looking at everybody. It's grouped by domain as opposed to people. So now I can look through and see every single URL that was visited by my people over a date range. And I could say, hey, are any of these concerning? Why did somebody go to E-Trade 54 times? I can click on that. I can see that it was mostly Jim. Maybe I want to see active time top down. I can see it was both Jim and Stanley. So I might have to have a conversation there. Who's going to Facebook? I can see that it's still Stanley and Jim. Who went to CBS Sports? I can see it's Jim. Who's going to live.com, which I think is a Windows Mail, webmail agent. So it looks like, again, Jim and Stanley are using webmail. Who went to Monster? You can see it's Andy and Dwight. So you get the idea. It's basically, a good way to get the details if you need them. Again, can always be exported easily. You can always filter these out. You can look at just a group of people. You can look at just one person. You can change the date range, change what you're looking at, emails, maybe emails that contain an alert word. I can sort by alert words top down. That means these emails went out, and somewhere in there, this word was triggered. And so I can click on it, and here's the details of it. Websites, programs, keystrokes, instant message conversations, printed documents, screenshots. Again, you can export these one by one. You can export a series of them. You can export all of them. You can get them singular as files, or you can put them onto a video that we recently built and made available for you guys, which is nice and easy to rewatch if you have to. Any file movement, did somebody add a file to the USB drive? I think that's a useful one for sure. Did somebody send a webmail with an attachment? When you think about how people steal data in general, probably going to send a webmail to themselves or to a competitor, or use a USB drive, flash stick or something like that. Maybe they put it on Dropbox. We have that covered as well. So you get the idea. That's basically how you'd look at that. That's the core of this new idea of building this out by employee and having it tell a story for each person, and having the software kind of do that work for you by pulling those alerts to the surface. And then that way, when you log in, you know exactly where to go. Hey, did anything concerning happen recently? As you guys know, if whether this is something you're using internally or something you're selling, or providing to an end customer, and you're an IT provider and your customers using it. At the end of the day, it's about finding out what they need, and a lot of times it just comes down to them having visibility into how their employees are doing their job, and are they moving data off of that computer that they shouldn't be. And the employee monitoring license, which is really everything that we just talked about, which has that file tracking element available, is going to be the one that gives you the most detail on, hey, these things are happening. Yes, this person's moving data. Yes, this person's communicating via email with competitors. Yes, they're looking for work while at their job. All of those things. We do have other licenses available, such as a data lock license, which is a DLP solution, which allows you to stop information from leaving the computer, kind of takes things one step further. That being said, it does so only in a few specific areas. It does so on the USB drive and on Outlook attachment. So if somebody already has control of the USB through any computer settings or program settings, then it might not provide a lot of value beyond that. Whereas the file tracking piece of employee monitoring is a very small cost increase, and it gives you full visibility into all of those things happening anyway. And at the end of the day, it's going to be impossible to stop everything from leaving the computer. I mean, technically somebody could just pull up a phone and snap a picture of a file, and there's just no way to stop that. But I think knowing that these things are happening and being alerted to them is almost as important, if not more important, and so again, employee monitoring, the enterprise license, enterprise on top of employee monitoring, which is the file tracking piece, I think is the most full-fledged solution. Anyway, so that's the idea there. I will show you real quickly. Just know that, again, all of the reports and notifications can be scheduled to come to you on a daily or weekly basis. You just create them. You can always come back and turn them, on or off as needed, or edit them as they get sent out. You can always see which ones have been sent out. You can actually view them from within the the interface itself, the if I wanted to, or save the file that is sent to you. This one's a blank one, so not super helpful there, but just know that that's where they would show up, or you can come back and download it again if you wanted to. And notifications, again, there are ways to get immediately notified when certain things are happening, such as did somebody type a specific word, did they visit a certain type of website. You can get an email immediately when that happens. You can search any of the recorded data anywhere. Search all for, forget Dropbox, we could just do all data. And then I could search for, maybe a newspaper, and that way I can basically be told, did somebody communicate with the newspaper to get some, stuff out, or put a company name, a competitor's name, see if anyone's reaching out to them, or put a person's name and see if somebody is referencing them somewhere. File name, any of those things. It allows you to search all of the data if you know what you're looking for already. And then last, just know that under settings, recording and blocking, this is going to be where you choose what settings are created for each of your groups. So basically all of our recorded data features have an on and off switch. If keystrokes is too invasive for some group, you can just turn it off. This is where you come also to block websites if you wanted to. Blocking by category is probably the best way to do it, easiest way. You can always add URLs, block by URL, or you can completely whitelist if you wanted to. So that's kind of the bulk of what we're going to go over today. Again, this is just mostly to show you a top-down of the more recent changes we've made, and explain how it can be useful for people that have the software. How it can give you kind of tell you a story of what's happening and things that you should be aware of. If anybody has any questions, feel free again to type them in the questions section. I'm just going to go there and see if there's any right now. Somebody asked how to deploy the software. So yeah, deploying is pretty straightforward. I mean, it depends. If you're looking at just one or two computers, you just walk up to the computer, you log into your account, you download the license, restart the machine, and you're on your way. If you have a larger environment, say 20 machines or more, you'll get a silent installer from us, which allows you to push the software out remotely through Active Directory, all at the same time. So installation obviously is super easy in that scenario. But for smaller scenario environments, then yeah, you install them one by one. The only thing that's ever required or takes any level of care is setting the antivirus exclusion, and just making sure that the antivirus knows not to quarantine the software. That being said, it shouldn't be that hard to do, and if you guys need help, or if you're having trouble with that now, you just let me know, and I could have our support team call you directly and help you get it installed successfully, make sure it's up and running as it should. All the support is included for everybody on the corporate side, so there's never extra costs for any of that stuff. So, okay, great. Well, I hope you guys got value out of this today. Thanks again. I want to give everybody my personal contact information, and that way, if anybody wanted to talk about their own account or follow up with any specific questions, please do. So my name is Bill Evans. My phone number is 203-307-2941. And my email address is B for my first name, Bill, and then my last name, Evans, EVANS, at awareness-tech.com. And yeah, please do reach out if there's anything I can do to help out. And yeah, so thanks again for taking the time, guys, and hope this added value, and hope to speak with you all soon. Have a great day.